Hello, welcome to our little AMA here. So we're going to be doing a Million on Mars May update AMA, and I have super special guest Keri Waters, CEO and founder of Million on Mars, and Mitch Zamara, lead game designer. And we're just going to be talking a little bit about the latest update and answering some predefined questions that you, the community, asked us via Discord. And you can also ask questions in the Twitch chat as well. And Twitter and whatever. We're monitoring all channels. But basically, just wanted to say hello and welcome. And today we're just going to be jamming. And then a little bit later, we're going to have some special guests from the community asking a couple of game design related questions. So with that, Keri, Mitch, hello.
Hello. Hey, thanks, Dave. Also, welcome, Dave. Is this week 3 for you? It feels like it's dog years, right?
Yeah. Week 3. It's glad to be here. I'm happy to be a part of the team.
We are thrilled that you were here. Can I give you a little intro?
Sure.
Yeah. So for those of you who are watching, Dave just joined us as our head of marketing just a couple of weeks ago, but we've known each other for several years now. Dave is an amazing marketer and product marketer. You may have seen him on Shark Tank at his last startup, which Inboard, an electric skateboard company that did really well. But he's done really incredible work for Cards Against Humanity, for a lot of other huge clients, and we're just thrilled to have him. So I'm going to pre-answer a question I think that's coming later, which is how are we getting the word out better? Well, we have some formidable marketing team now. So
thank you. I'm honored. That was the best introduction I've had all week. So thank you.
All right.
With that being said, I think you guys are faces that the whole community should be familiar with, and I know that we wanted to sort of just jump right into sort of the news of the day, which was the Sunday update, and sort of just start talking a little bit about that. So, Keri, do you want to sort of take the lead on that?
Yeah. I know we have a bunch of questions, but I wanted to kind of frame this a little bit and talk about how we think about updates in general. We make a lot of updates to the game for different reasons, for new roadmap features, bug fixes, or like more polished stuff like in the UI, new content like new buildings or recipes, and then economic rebalancing, right? And we, just so you know, just as we kick this off, we think about all of these differently. And for the game to run well and to be sustainable, and for the economy to be sustainable, it's just not going to be possible for us to apply a one-size-fits-all approach to the way we do them, which is okay. I think people understand that. We're going to push bug fixes out when we need to. When we're doing major roadmap releases, we do have, I think, a pretty good process for making sure we get things developed and we coordinate marketing and do all that. And to be honest, the cadence that we're trying to keep with shipping new content and with rebalancing our economy when needed, those fit somewhere in between. And we are working as a small team on developing some good process around that. We take it really seriously. Mitch takes it really seriously. Mitch is an excellent game economist, one of the best in the world at what he does. And he's going to talk more about this in detail. But this update in particular, I wanted to let everyone know it was huge. And to be clear, we feel really badly. We screwed it up, which is why we're here, to talk to you about it and to try to make it up to you. But it was also possibly, hopefully, unique in the entire lifespan of this game, in that it was a major rebalancing effort across all buildings, the entire crafting system. And to open the kimono a little bit, a little mea culpa there. If we go back to when we launched in December, right after we launched in December, Mitch and Eric realized early on that that crafting system was going to need, some rebalancing overall, which is just normal in a game this new. It's not possible to design these things perfectly in a vacuum. We talked about that in our white paper. We talked about it on Discord. But mea culpa, we didn't talk about it in detail, and we didn't get it done very quickly because we just kept getting overwhelmed by other priorities. And so we finally got it out. We felt like we needed to get it out, and we didn't message that well. And it was a large scope of changes, and I know we're going to talk about that in more detail. So it had to be done, but I do wish that we messaged it differently. But I don't think we're facing another update of that scope in the foreseeable future.
Awesome. Well, I think that that's super, super helpful. Thank you for just sort of clarifying all that stuff, Keri. I think it was really good. I know that we're all very excited. I just got to say, as a new guy here, there is a lot of stuff. The frequency by which you guys are creating and making and responding is it's stellar. It's faster than any startup or company that I've been a part of in my entire career. So it's unfortunate that some things kind of got not necessarily damaged, but just kind of not messaged out correctly. But we want to just get in front of that and answer everybody's questions about those. So I have a whole bunch of pre-defined questions that the audience has submitted through Discord, and then a little survey that we sent out to everybody. And so thank you everybody for answering that. We're not going to be able to we got like dozens and dozens of questions. I'm not going to be able to answer all of them here. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to answer what we think are the most important questions, the ones that are probably least focused on like specific components of the game itself. So like I'm not going to talk about, legendary engineering bays and things of that nature, but we are going to talk about some of the broader scope things. And then if you guys have questions, please feel free to ask in Twitch chat, and we'll get those over and I'll ask those as well. So I guess first things first, let me jump into a question for Keri here is like, what will the team be changing going forward to be clearer in communicating game updates and changes?
That's a great question. I forgot to say, you should stick around until the end of this stream because Mitch is going to announce something really special in advance. We're going to give you a little heads up, a little thank you, and frankly, an apology for what happened this week. But what are we going to do moving forward? We're working on some specific things. So we are going to make sure that we do more in-game pop-ups before, either before or at the same time we ship changes, and rely less solely on Discord. Not all players are on Discord all the time. There's a lot of chatter on Discord. It's easy to miss stuff. We are also, I'm going to admit here that I was really a stickler for keeping the player guide really accurate as to what was available to play today in the game and not being forward looking in the player guide. But I've since come around on this issue. Mitch and Eric have both been banging that drum for a while. So, they were right. And so we're going to add a little, kind of near-term update, near-term roadmap section to the player guide that's more granular about changes that are coming soon.
Awesome. I think that's great. And as the head of marketing, I think it'll be great to just know about things a few minutes before they're deployed and make sure that we're able to message it. And then also, I do want to continue to encourage the community to keep messaging us and letting us know what we can do to improve. And consistency in communication across multiple channels is definitely one of the things we want to do, hence the video AMA. So that being said, I also wanted to ask a follow-up question. What can we expect the player guide to be updated to in the future? I mean, I think you sort of talked about this. Like, is there any other details about the player guide that we want to talk about, or yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, actually, Mitch, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, of course. Happy to. So one of the things that we're going to be doing is actually updating our player's guide to have a bit of a forward-looking insight into some of the things that we're looking at, either from an economic perspective, gameplay perspective, systems perspective, to kind of give players a bit more of an insight into where we're looking at and what we're looking to change. It may not give you exact specifics about which features or which items might be changing, but it might give you some insight into what supply chains might be getting modified or improved in the future, or even what buildings we're looking at potentially if they're needing more attention, either in terms of addressing something that's just being oversupplied or undersupplied. We're always looking to ensure that the pain points in the game are being addressed as best as possible.
Awesome. And then I got another question for you here, Mitch, and this is a little bit of a change gears. And the question from the community was, random flash sales are usually done in North America time zones. Is there a way you could have flash sales at more random times so that other countries can sort of get the jump on the North American countries?
Yeah, I mean, we've tried to find a more centralized time zone that can be sort of ideal for most of our player base, though we're still trying to find better ways to do some of these things. I think when it comes to our weekly sales, we're certainly going to be a little bit more open to having a bit more of a rotating time. It's the biggest challenge for us is just trying to line up everything well enough ahead of time, but that's actually something that we're trying to improve on our processes with as well. So these going forward, and this is maybe something you might have seen in the last couple of weeks, we're trying to get things a little bit more scheduled ahead of time. You should see all the sales for this week come online tonight. They've already been staged up. We're just doing like a final review on them. So we're being a lot more proactive in getting things staged up. That said, there's still going to be surprises that are not told ahead of time. There's still going to be like last minute changes that occasionally happen. These things are just part of doing business. But we're going to do our best to try to be a little bit more forward in or giving a little bit more information ahead of time so that everyone can be better prepared for things.
And I think if I can also just add on to that, I think it's really important for everyone in the audience to understand that like some of these things you guys are making decisions in almost real time based on the performance of in the game and with users. And we do have a fast growing community. And so things are changing all the time. So the next question that I wanted to ask was about team members, Keri. And so what are we doing? So there's a little bit of crossover between the community and Million on Mars. It's been awesome to jump in here and not only be friends with you, but also to meet so many people in the community who are also actively working on the game itself. And so what is going on inside to keep people from exploiting the data ahead of time so that like there's no sort of insider trading, so to speak, because we know about updates a few minutes before the community does sometimes?
Yeah, that is an excellent question. I'm really glad for whoever asked that. To be honest, it's something that we're starting to get a little more formal about now because we're getting a little bit bigger. We've been a small team. You know who we are. We've always tried to, we take a lot of pride in what we do. We say all the time, we want to be the Disney of blockchain gaming, the Apple of blockchain gaming. We think we do set the quality bar in this space, and we want to keep doing that. And so with a small team, we've been able to be fairly informal about that because the insider players have, as individuals, have huge integrity. Mitch and I sometimes have static. I will occasionally send an extremely small item to some like VIP investor type that's looking at, and he's like, but you don't understand, what about the community? People are going to be very upset about this. Mitch is such a straight arrow on this stuff, as is Lamp. Lamp doesn't, take advantage of the data. He's able to see. These two are extremely trustworthy. And they're helping us set policies and standards for everybody. And so we are taking some specific steps. We're limiting in our internal Slack. We're putting a little bit of a firewall between our community and what's the sausage making that's happening in dev, which is, creating a bit of a pipeline of information there. And we'll continue to do those things. But I'll remind everybody, we're on the blockchain. We're all fully doxed. You know who we are. Keep an eye on us. Keep us honest.
Yeah, please do. Next question is for Mitch. And so how does the Million on Mars team decide what assets to inject into the market? And when are those decisions sort of made?
Oh, that's a really interesting question. I think at its most basic level, it largely boils down to an economics question in terms of looking at the various supply and demand of resources that exist within the game, while the game itself is continuing to grow week over week. So we are now 6.5 months now live, and we are now comfortably over 5,000 daily players, which is pretty freaking cool. And that means that those players are consuming more food and more water every day than they ever have before. It means that they are scavenging more often than ever, doing more jobs, doing more things. And so this has an incredibly interesting impact on the economy of the game that changes over time. The amount of things that are being produced, people are trying to min-max. So in addition to sort of working against those forces of players coming into the game, we're also trying to just come up with more and more things for players to do, more things for people to aspire to, more ways to find interesting, ways to spend your Dusk, and to more things to sort of achieve and accomplish inside of the game. And that allows us to add more interesting choices, more fun decisions, more, fantasies that you get to live on Mars, basically. And that's really at the basics, or that's the core of where we come up with a lot of those ideas. When it comes to like when we want to implement those things, it's largely a matter of figuring out when the economy needs it the most. So if certain things are driving up the price of the market too high, it might make sense that we have to come up with either another source for that resource or another sink if something is too generous and we need it to come down or come up in price. So we look at all the different sort of supply and demand needs in the market, and we try to always adjust against that. And we generally try to incorporate the new content that we're designing to actually solve those needs, so everything feels naturally fitting.
Now, as we're expanding the game, Mitch, a little follow-up question here. How much, like, there is a little bit of permeability. What, coming from the outside in, there's a lot more permeability in this company for intellectual property than I've seen in other places. Having come from, so the audience that doesn't know, I've worked on big clients before, the big tech companies, big car companies, all, you name it, from burgers to poorly engineered German cars. I've worked on a lot of different stuff. And so it's really interesting to see there's much more permeability, much more closeness with the community and how that sort of comes in. Can you talk just for a second about how you're sort of like looking at the community holistically and what's going on and how that's impacting, you're thinking about the game?
Sure. So like from our perspective, when we're looking at decisions in the game, we generally look at them in terms of like a very high level overview from a sort of a quantitative perspective in terms of like overall, supplies of various resources that are being produced or consumed inside of the game economy. But I also look at these things from various segments of our user base. So I'm looking at what are the players that have the most amount of land doing inside of the game? What are the players that have just one piece of land inside of the game doing? What are the players that are just fresh to the game that just have an access badge? What does their experience look like as well? And when does it look like how long is it taking them to reach their first piece of land through a Duskworks accommodation? So like we're constantly reframing and looking at the experience in the game through these different lenses to ensure that there are different paths to ownership, different paths to progression and success, and sort of just everything that can be potentially possible for anyone depending on their level of engagement and where they want to be in terms of ownership inside of the game.
That's a great answer. Thank you, Mitch. And I think that dovetails really well with the next question that I wanted to ask Keri. And being on the inside and recently joining the team, I found that the vision for the future of Million on Mars is really compelling. And so one of the questions we got from the audience was, what is the long-term goal of Million on Mars and the direction we'll be heading in? Can you please paint a world of how Million on Mars would look like? So can you maybe just elaborate a little bit more on the vision for everybody?
Yeah. So I love talking about this. So thank you for kicking me this question. But this is a huge passion project for a lot of us on the team. And we are so thrilled to be getting involved in Web3 right in its infancy, because it's so it dovetails so well with the mission and the missions we're on. Our top level mission is that we all are optimists. We're all really frustrated with current media and current storytelling that says that the late 21st century, the near-term future that we and our kids, are going to see, has to be bad. And so we're dedicated. Everything you see us do, we're here for the long term. We all intend for this to be the last company that we ever work for, and we're going to do a whole series of games. And a lot of content, but all of them, the unifying theme is going to be that they're forward looking and they're optimistic and they're positive about what's possible, not a meditation on the negative. So in specifically we're focused on, we love sci-fi. We also love the fact that, Mitch in particular has a huge passion for the way that Web3 and blockchain gaming unlocks great gaming experiences for a part of the world that is accessing the internet solely through a mobile phone and doesn't have access to, consoles or high-end gaming PCs. And they don't want to play crappy games that are just ad supported. So we are going to build great games that are mobile friendly, that are accessible, that value your time, value your investment in time and strategy, and allow you to ladder up with real assets. And we are going to continue to lead the quality bar there. We are really proud with the stability of Dusk. And you're going to see us focus on the stability of that economy first and foremost the entire way, because that's going to unlock lots of ancillary opportunities, like leveraging those assets that you've built with us, like letting us tell stories for a bigger and bigger audience through multiple mediums. So that's where we're going. And we're just ultimately hoping to bring on that inspirational future. We haven't made a secret of it. We're going to be talking more about it as we get later in the year and we roll out Glitter. But the mission of the Glitter DAO, and the reason that we're working so hard to build value in Glitter, is that we're dedicating 10% of those tokens to actually accelerating getting humans into space and human space settlements. And we're serious about that. We're working with people who are actually domain experts and can make that happen.
It's exciting, all the things that are concretely planned for the rest of this year, as well as all the other things that are sort of coming down the pike. And I mean, that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to join you, because you're literally trying to move planets to make stuff happen, which is awesome. So I got another question here from the community, and that is, what is in store for weekly founder drops, Mitch? Like, can you give us a little preview?
Yeah, I don't have the most exciting and compelling answer, to be honest with you, because the new pack that has been rolling out every week is probably going to be the same thing that people are going to see for a little while. This pack that gives you a surveyor's coin, that gives you a couple of tools and gives you a couple of resource cards. This is really the sort of ongoing supply drop that I think is going to be there for a little bit of time, though I would imagine we're going to start adding in some additional surprise drops and bonuses that we used, similarly like we used to do a few months ago. We also have additional bonuses coming to the founders token holders once we have completed our launch over on Solana. There's going to be weekly claims that founders token holders are going to be able to get inside of the game for Glitter as well, which we're really excited about, just giving everyone access to that inside of the game on an ongoing basis for the next year. And there's going to be additional economic perks in the long term that you're going to see us add to the founders token. So it's we certainly want to make sure that it has a compelling long-standing value for anyone who holds them.
And that's sort of a philosophy for any of these sort of tokenized assets of that nature. And we're going to be talking about Martizens a little bit later, but that sort of dovetails with that as well. Changing gears slightly, but still in the economic world, is Keri, I wanted to ask you a question about Dusk. And so with Dusk doing so well recently, what avenues are you guys pursuing to get the word out about the tremendous P2E opportunities Million on Mars has managed to create, even in a down market?
Yeah, so I don't know if you guys noticed, but we did, and we were really proud of what happened with Dusk last week with the little, I'm calling it the crypto wobble. And we're extremely bullish about crypto in general, but we were really pleased. We had a hypothesis, and you guys helped us bear it out, that Dusk has high utility value and may even be countercyclic because it has such high utility value and entertainment value, and that's what we tell big fancy tier one investors. And with their money and their reach, we're going to get that word out to a whole lot more people and be able to build a big team under Dave. And we're going to get the word out a lot faster in a lot bigger way. We're really proud. I want to say one more thing on that. I think I've touched on this before, but I want to bang this drum really hard. We have grown exactly the way we've wanted to grow to date. We didn't go out there with paid marketing. You know why? Because this is my fourth startup, and there are lots of us on the team who've done multiple startups. We really wanted to find you guys. We wanted to find this community. We wanted to find the community that was passionate about what we were doing, and that had to be grassroots. And now that we found you, and we know we believe we've built something really compelling and really great, now we're ready to bring it to a much bigger audience. So we're just getting going on that.
Yeah, and it really feels like, coming from the outside in again, I know I'm just going to use that card all the time, guys, for the next couple of weeks, is you can just really tell that, when you're building a new company, you need to sort of serve the user base that you have, and also the user base as it grows. And so it feels like we work directly for them in like a really cool hand in glove sort of a way. I mean, yes, there were some issues with the update on Sunday and stuff, but here we are. It's Tuesday night and we're talking about it. I mean, this is some pretty fast turnaround comparatively to other companies that I've worked with in the past. So I just wanted to comment on that. I also wanted to go into the next kind of tokenization sort of thing and talk a little bit about Martizens, which I know a little bit about, but I'm going to ask Keri and Mitch about it. Tell me a little bit more about Martizens. Today we revealed the pre-sale price, which starts at 1.8 Sol and goes up from there. But can you sort of talk how, and then one of the other questions is how many can we buy? I'll answer that one as well. You can buy 10 and there's an 8-hour cooldown on it. There was much discussion internally about that. But Keri and Mitch, you guys want to talk a little bit more about Martizens at a high level and also talk a little bit about the value that we're planning to build into them.
Yeah, so let me talk about it from a expanding the Solana perspective, and then let Mitch talk about in-game utility, because I think that's hugely important and really puts us in a class of our own. So we initially, Martizens are it's about two things for us. I just said it. The one thing, if you haven't heard, we are expanding to Solana. We plan to be multi-chain. We think about blockchains as providers to the game that we're building, to the service that we're building, and we want to make sure. Eric has a phrase that he uses a lot that I really like, where he talks about, being really focused on our players being able to clear the market on the value of their assets. So when you buy NFTs from us, he doesn't want you to miss out on selling them for top dollar when it's time for you to sell them, because we're not in enough marketplaces. So we're going to work on expanding that. And Martizens, they're really fun. They come from the world that we're building. They're great characters. The artwork's fantastic, and they're a really fun PFP project on their own. And they're a great way for us to get out there and introduce ourselves to the Solana community. And to be honest, we're just wading into that pool, and so we're just getting to know that community, and we didn't realize how unusual they are for Solana, and that goes to the kind of in-game utility and how they're going to be used in game. And Mitch, I think you should talk about that.
Oh, you're on mute, Mitch.
Whoops, my bad. Sorry.
It's live.
I'm trying to keep things muted so you don't have to hear my children. I swear I'm doing this for the benefit of everyone else. Martizens are designed to give a couple of unique in-game utilities, and really our goal is to have a unique roadmap for them that we actually extend out to have its own sort of set of features, its own sort of value and uses, both inside of the game and even potentially outside of the game. So besides from being a really cool, unique one-of-one piece of art, Martizens are designed to come with an endowment of Dusk and glitter that is available to be claimed after minting of Martizens and after our launch of glitter, or assuming we are launching glitter officially. That's what I should say more. There are things unexpectedly can happen is what I want to say, and we don't have any expectations of anything, but things can happen. Our goal is to the minimum have them endowed with Dusk, and the expectation is that you're going to be able to claim Dusk from your Martizens, sort of similar to the way artifacts work inside of the game. Beyond that, our goal is to also then allow Martizens to function within your settlements and habitats, sort of like a manager who can help with some of the basic tasks of keeping your buildings operational, with things like refilling water, recharging power, and maybe even helping with some of the maintenance needs that are required down the road. So all the Martizens also accrue profession XP and have their own profession levels, similar to the way that you have them for your own character inside of the game. And then in addition to that, you'll be able to level them up, and there may be additional sort of perks and things that the Martizens will be able to do in the future. We don't want to overcommit on things, but at the minimum, the goal is, if you've ever played games like Factorio or Satisfactory, they're sort of like the conveyor belts. They sort of help with sort of the ongoing needs of what you're running. And if if you're running a settlement, for example, and you've got habitats that you're renting out, or even if you're just running a lot of habitats, there's a pretty nice value there, and where you don't have to be on constantly refilling the water and the power. It takes over those sort of more tedious needs, and adds a small layer of light automated of play to some extent.
Awesome. I don't want to make this too much about Martizens, because this was really mostly about the latest update and just sort of where the direction of the company and the game is going at this point. So that's kind of it for Martizens. I feel like we've covered a lot of the questions there, and there's more information coming, and we're sort of sharing it as it's all totally available and legally approved to share, because these are unique and different sort of products and processes. So I wanted to ask a question to both of you guys. This is another one from the community, and plenty of times I've seen the team fix minor issues such as incorrect numbers or wrong image almost instantly. Could you highlight these efforts more with a minor fix log in game so that players see all the hard work that is being done on each and every minor issue? I swear this isn't a ringer question. This is a real question from the community. Do you want to talk a little bit about the speed of updates that we make, and also why some things might get updated more quickly than others? And do we want to share sort of those like mini minor bug fixes and stuff with people? Keri?
Yeah. So I can be really brief on this one. I mean, the short answer is yes. Like we are working on adding an activity log for you, the player, to see your loot log for and also an activity log for all of our updates, so that we can brag on those a little bit and make those more accessible. So yeah, that's coming soon. We are not going to stop moving fast, though. It's important to us to build real deep strategy games, and to keep them fresh, keep them interesting, and we're going to keep shipping content. We're just going to try to do it so that it's the smoothest delivery and the fairest gameplay for everyone.
And then I want to ask a totally different question, which is about cross-chain. So we're bringing on Solana. There's other internal talk in the future about additional chains. Can you, Keri, just sort of talk a little bit about, I mean, you touched on it before, maybe just dive in a little bit about cross-chain. And the question from the audience is basically, is there specific data about cross-chain? But it's sort of like an ongoing thing. Can you talk to that a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, the specific date is Friday. We've told you can buy Martizens for Solana on Friday. And shortly thereafter, you'll be able to do more gameplay on Solana. And to be clear, we love Solana. We love Solana's trajectory. We love how quickly they're growing. We're going to be focused there and on Wax, where we built our first home, and where there's a really active gaming market. We're going to be focused on those two for quite a while. Which is not to say we're not going to collaborate with others. And we're really passionate about finding ways for people to keep their assets wherever they want them. But Glitter, our token, is on Solana. It's a SPL token, and it's coming really soon. So we're gonna be focused there for a bit.
Okay, cool. So with that, I wanted to bring in two special guests from the community. So if we could bring in Ben and Steve, and then we can sort of ask some of those questions. Hey, Ben. Hey, Steve.
Hi there. Hey, how you doing?
Hey, thanks for coming, guys, and joining us at random hours of the day for wherever you're located in the world. Thank you guys again. You guys have always been big proponents of ours, but I also want to make it clear that you're not like sort of ringers here. We want your guys' honest questions about stuff. And like I was saying, we're talking a little bit about Martizens, but we're mostly focused on the Sunday update as well as overall game process and the direction of the company and game. So I'll sort of let you guys take it from here. You're honorary hosts now. Do you want to jump in with a question?
Ben, you first.
Oh, Ben.
All right. So I've got one that actually came from the audience, if you will. And it is about how do you plan to make the game accessible to the newer players if the jobs and scavenging have become more expensive? And I think that relates somewhat to the update on Sunday, just that you're seeing some basic stuff like food and water prices rise. You're seeing stamina cost more, and it's it's cutting into some margins on some of the new player tasks. So
yeah. So the way that we deal with that is that we look at making a economic balance adjustment. I think that, you know, I've been watching food and water very, very closely for months to sort of see where it's been going, and it's one of the ones that sort of, the second you move any of the existing greenhouse recipes in a direction, it starts to really snowball. Or if seeds are a little too easy or too prevalent, the supply count also gets a little bit silly. And I think the way that I want to help solve this in the long term is to give greenhouses a long-term benefit that makes the ability to create seeds a little bit more straightforward, where you can transform a greenhouse into its own sort of seed sowing house instead, where the recipes for planting and harvesting are replaced with planting and sowing instead. And so you can actually grow seeds instead of just growing food. And I think that offset will help to sort of counterbalance some of the issues of how hard it is to get specific seeds that you're trying to grow. The other thing that I want to do in the long term is to just make sure that we're always listening to the newest player, to the players in our game, and making sure that we're responding to their needs, so that if there is something that we're not addressing, that we can focus on it more specifically. I mean, I definitely want to make sure that things are always accessible to everyone. I think that it's the job market is the biggest step forward towards this, I think, because our goal is to really allow players to easily gain profession XP and to really gain opportunities to specialize and level up. We're at a bit of a friction point where there isn't a ton of available places renting yet set up. But I think in a couple of weeks, when we start to see habitats springing up everywhere, and you're seeing training halls available everywhere that you can quickly level up your skills, and it takes like no effort and it costs like nothing to do, it'll be very easy for players to start to progress and advance again. And like this friction will alleviate itself. And what we'll see is players will gain new profession XP levels, and they'll start to be able to command a higher wage for their skills. Like Lamp, like literally just did a high level crafting for someone and earned like 6 dusk per stamina, and earned like 100 stamina or 100 dusk on a crafting job. Like that to me is the dream, right? Where your specialized skills now command like this higher wage, and where we're gonna see that kind of like 7 dusk per stamina. Yeah, like that's the kind of thing I want to see, where your actual specialization and your investment in time inside of this game can actually increase the amount of dusk you earn per stamina that you've actually like are doing those same kind of work for, and that you can increase your earning potential. You can increase your own empire just by investing your time inside of the game.
Awesome. Great answer, Mitch. Thank you for illuminating us about that. Steve, you got one for the gang?
Sure. Hi everyone, by the way. Kerry, Mitch, good to see you. Hi Dave.
Hi.
And the community. See some noobs in the chat. It's always good. Pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me. Talking about Solana, and we know we've got the Solana launch coming up, and so I kind of just want to look at, from a new user perspective, what are your acquisition numbers like in the short to mid term? Like, what do you forecast for new players? Because we know we've got some challenges in the job market. People have struggled to fulfill jobs. We know that there are things like Metis, which is only available through scavenging at the moment, and people don't want to waste their stamina because they're trying to grind that level 2 fabrication XP. So how does it look in terms of the near to the midterm for these new players coming on board once we get onto this new chain? Are we expecting a massive influx? Is it going to be a slow drip? Like how does it look from your side of things in terms of what you understand so far?
Yeah. So I will tell you, we've been growing really rapidly, especially in the last 60 days. We've doubled in size in the last 60 days, and the next 30 days are going to be quite a ride. I just strap in. There's some stuff that I don't want to step in, that I don't want to step on. Dave's got some marketing launches planned, but starting with Martizens and expanding to Solana. We're going to be making some big announcements with some big partners on Solana about how we're getting there. We're going to be seeing a really big influx of players in the next 30 days, especially. So our growth is accelerating. It was anyway. And then we're doing a couple of inorganic things that are going to take us there. And so that's going to mean a few things. We are really focused right now on really smoothing out the onboarding process for new players. And we're doing that with marketplaces on Solana. We're also doing that with like key big communities in cross promo and doing some really bespoke stuff to try to make it easier for new players to come on board. Now the trade-off there, and so I think the growth is going to be good for everybody. It's always, growth is good for all economies, generally speaking. And so, that growth is going to be great, but it is going to bring in a lot more players that are less educated about what we do, and also presumably more players that are starting as workers and scavengers and working their way up, which is great, which I think is going to help Mitch fully bring to fruition some of the vision he's had for how the economy will develop. But we are making, dovetailing with that, we're making the economy more player driven. As minting tokens are an important part of that, and allowing players to craft things that other players can buy is a crucial part of bringing the economy into a natural balance, which is going to help us scale smoothly.
You feeling good about that one, Steve?
I am. I kind of got a second part question to that, which I don't know if it's right to ask. We know recently, and because, by the way, the scaling, thank you for the answer. That was fantastic. And I'm excited for this because we need it. And I agree, it's good for growth. But I think also we know recently there's been some challenges, maybe from a mobile's perspective on performance. We know there's been some slight server lag. There's been challenges, just small ones, nothing, just growing pains, nothing massive. But when we get this new influx of users, are you ready? Do you have the hardware enabled? Is everything in place? Are you open and ready to scale with this?
Yes. Now this one I'm going to take with authority. So so you guys met on our last AMA. You met Joel, our third co-founder. You know JDB in our community, quiet guy, but stealthy and funny. He happens to be an extremely talented infrastructure engineer, and we've worked together a really long time, including on some projects that I'll tell you about over a beer someday. But for some very large social networks, that we're having scaling issues. So we've seen some patterns, and what we were going through, to be candid, what we went through, it was a confluence of a few issues, but the biggest one was the way we were storing data in our database. We had a silly bug. We were duplicating the way we were storing data in a bunch of ways. We dealt with the sort of duplication errors. We dealt with some specific issues in the way we were calling data in inefficient ways. And now, to be totally frank, we've done some testing. We are really horizontally scalable. And what that means in our industry is, we're on all elastic databases, and we've had some pretty good, kind of testing across these systems as we've been scaling. And so now, yes, we will be able to scale smoothly. It's just going to be a question of controlling the costs on our side, but that's our problem. So player experience should not be affected.
Thanks, Keri. Ben, I know you had some other questions as well. I want to make sure that you have enough time and just call out everybody here that we're not going to be able to get to all the questions. But Steve and Ben, thank you guys. And I'll continue to also bring in some other questions as well if we have time for it. But Ben, I know you had another one, and I wanted to make sure that you had time to jump in there with it.
Yeah, so the other one I had from the community was also about scaling issues. So it looked like we covered that one. I personally kind of had a question about the economy and the update, and specifically the skill level gating and the decision to go back and apply that retroactively to existing recipes in chains and processes that people were already doing and already working on. And so kind of a two-part question with that. The first was if you can talk a little bit just about the decision to go back and add those level gates to existing recipes instead of just applying them to the new features and the new recipes that are coming. And second, if there's any insight you can give us as to for the other remaining skill trees, we haven't seen yet kind of what the plans are for level gating with that. Are they going to come all at once? Are we going to see progressive level gate increases over time? Just any kind of broad or detailed information you might have on that, I think would be great.
Mitch?
Yeah, sure thing. Sorry about that. Just you know how there's no such thing as no crypto never sleeps. Did you just hear that Meeseeks just got compromised and just like is wrecking havoc now everywhere in crypto? Like anyway, sorry. Don't use Meeseeks right now. Good times. So anyway, how do we deal? So let me repeat your question and recenter things. Sorry, I apologize. I think the goal when I was redoing all the fabrication profession recipes was really to come up with an actual like meaningful amount of progression that actually feels good, that gives players something that they can do and work towards all the way across the different tiers of progression, so that they can actually have these in-demand skills. I certainly overtuned a few of the recipes and sort of set them at a bar that was a little too high and for recipes that were just sort of that were in use by a lot of players, specifically the structural and electronic parts. So like unquestionably made a misstep there, and I've tried to sort of rectify those back down. Going forward in terms of communicating on this thing, I'm working on, well, you're gonna see all the communication coming ahead of time in terms of like where things are being placed, when things are going to be changed. I'm going to just be a lot more forward in terms of communication on these things, so that there isn't a surprise, and try to ensure that if there's going to be a very painful change, that I can accommodate or mitigate those things. Because at the end of the day, like, I'm certainly not trying to like piss in everyone's Cheerios and screw up their game. I want that progression to feel fun and exciting, and I want it to feel meaningful. And I certainly don't want someone to suddenly feel like they need to now grind for 2 months before they can get back to what they had already been doing. That said, there will be a few exceptions to what I've just said. When we first rolled out professions, there was, and you'll see this, and even if you read the player's guide since the very beginning, there's a outline that sort of covers the sort of expected difficulty of these various professions, and robotics is one that is labeled as an expert difficulty profession. And so, like, I will say that like there will be more pain coming to people that are used to building rovers. I will do my best to forwardly communicate this and to try to set up a more clear path in terms of what you should expect, but it is designated as sort of like a mid and elder tier, system, and that is sort of what our goal is. That said, I want to, I'm gonna be a lot more generous with XP in a ton of different places inside of the game, and I really want to even sort of pre-bake in more bonus XP rewards before the level gating or the specific skill gating comes into effect, so that there's a chance to sort of catch up before the gate closes, basically. So I'm gonna be a lot more communicative and basically ensure that there's less surprises.
I can't believe that he is breaking this to me on a live stream, because he knows I'm heavily in the rover building business, and so yeah.
Yeah, something has to be a challenge. Rovers are very expensive to make already, but like the people that make them should be rewarded for that as well, which is why I want it to be like an expert challenge, so that if you're grinding your way up and you're the top rover mechanic or something like that, like I want someone who has high skill in machining and rover work or in robotics to be able to salvage rovers at a higher success rate, or to have a better chance of getting them at like fully restored. Like I want to make those efforts actually matter, and I want to be able to put those things like deeper into those progressions so that they're more available. I want to have special recipes that are only available to players that have maybe certain depths of 2 profession skills that you can't hire someone else to do. You can only do them yourself, basically. Like I want to have a good variance to those sort of things. So that's the end goal. When we're sort of retuning our existing progression recipes, like everything has to sit somewhere, and at the end of the day, like sometimes there's going to be things that are painful where they end up lying, because I can't make everything just still level 0. It's going to feel really crappy, and if I put something that's too far ahead where it shouldn't be, I'm certainly going to help walk that back to somewhere where it doesn't feel as painful. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Mitch. That was a good
That was a lot of
answer.
words.
Ben, there was a lot, but it was good. You touched on a lot of different stuff there, and now everybody knows that they're going to feel the pain on the Roverworks side. So, Ben, great question, dude. Steve, I wanted to give you the last word here. Did you have any other questions that you wanted to ask these guys?
I mean, I think you've covered everything, to be honest. The only other thing I would want to possibly touch on, and I don't know if it's something you can answer, is, and Mitch, I know you've been working relentlessly on bringing new guilds on board and pitching to new guilds, and I think we can expect to see a few new whales coming into the economy in the near future. I'm just kind of curious what that looks like from a liquidity point of view when we look at things like Dusk extraction. It's a very difficult thing at the moment to try and balance the economy and not, tip the boat, so to speak. But for those that do invest large amounts of money and do look to, potentially see an ROI, how are you going to help those members and also keep that economy stable at the same time? Because that's something we've all grown to expect and love right now is this stability of Dusk, especially when other stable coins can't quite do the same. And the second question, I suppose, is when are you going over to help Terra reform and get their token to stabilize?
They've a much.
He's got no time. I'll tell you.
How do you do with 6 trillion tokens? That's a lot of liquidity. I don't know. I used to work in idle games where you deal with like exponentially large numbers. That's like idle game territory. There's no prestige mechanic when it comes to stable coins that I'm aware of, so I'm not sure how well that lines up. Personally, my opinion is, and this is my personal opinion, I can't speak, this isn't on behalf of the company, but I would say that my personal take is that the way that we ensure that Dusk stays stable for the long term is that we actually see Dusk get pegged to a stable coin. If you see a Dusk pool that's Dusk USDC, I think that you will see it maintain stability for a longer amount of time. That's not currently possible where we are, to my understanding, but when Dusk is able to be withdrawn to a Phantom wallet or whatever, like, who knows?
That's a really interesting answer. That's actually the first time I've ever heard him say that. That's awesome.
I only came up with that this morning, and I only told Eric this morning. I'll be perfectly honest.
This is why you tune into the AMAs, guys, to find out about it in real time.
That's my new secret alpha on how to maintain a stable coin. I think that's the secret. I don't know. I could be wrong, but
the Million on Mars team willing to be too candid. No, I have an answer for that, really. And this goes back to, I keep trying to say this, and I don't know if I'm saying it well. And, I think we all try to say this. So we mean what we say. We're really earnest about what we're trying to build, and we're trying to evoke this positive future and this inspirational future. And to be honest, that's why we've grown the way we've grown, because we wanted to find community that really resonated with what we're trying to do. And to be really candid, that is the secret. The secret is that it is, I've used a poker room analogy, but it's more like, look, if in any group of people, if we bring in some guilds and some guilds that evangelize, and they are essentially pro players, they're investing a lot of time, they're investing strategy, they deserve to be rewarded. And much like being a highly skilled poker player in general, they'll do well on ROI. But the stability for the long term comes from the fact that most of us, like me, are more in the center of the bell curve, where I just really enjoy building rovers and sending them out on missions. And, I win some and I lose some, and, I'm kind of the Dusk fairy, and, I enjoy playing the game, and the game is extremely engaging, and the world is engaging to me. And the really candid answer is that most people have to feel that way in order for a segment of pro players to really get maximum value. And I think that's great. That's what the Bartle diagram means. That's what it means to bring in a mixture of people. And I got to tell you, I do not feel, compartmentalized. I work here, but, at the end of the day, I don't feel exploited when, I don't have maximum ROI because I had a really good time. And other people who invest the skills and are pointed in that way do get those returns. And I'm thrilled to see them get it.
Feeling good about that one, Steve?
I think it goes back to what I said at the very start when I first come on board. I met Mitch and I met Eric and I met the rest of the team. It's an incredible team. When you're looking in crypto at the moment and everything's suffering so much, and yet Dusk continues to grow, everything's stable. You know, the game's constantly rolling out updates. It's a testament to the team, and I've said it since day one. I invest in teams, and that's why I've invested in you guys. You're incredible. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I love that you guys are trying to deliver us a vision and a game that creates real inherent value in playing it, and real inherent value in the fun aspect and the engagement aspect. And really, that's something I've talked about with a lot of my friends in this space that frankly has been missing in a lot of these games. They're all focused on trying for tokenomics or, you know, balancing the economy. But at the end of the day, if there's not that inherent value, it doesn't matter how perfectly your economic system works. It's all just going to go down. You have to have that inherent engagement fun, some reason that people are coming other than I want to turn my $5 into $10 to be able to stay and grow and last. So I think it's great you guys are doing that, and you're doing a great job. So thank you guys.
Well, thank you.
Well said, Ben and Steve.
You guys have, I'm forward thinking so much right now that I have a plot of land on my DTM already earmarked. It's the one that's left with no buildings. I'm looking forward to just one day just chilling out, have my artifact behind me, put my VR headset on, look out over the cliff. I'm going to be looking on the Mars terrain. Like I can see where the game's going when you look at the Steam version and what you're doing now and the merging of it in the future. It's a phenomenal time to be involved and watch what you're doing.
Well, thank you, Steve and Ben, for joining us. I really appreciate your guys' questions. We're gonna let you guys drop off, and then Keri and Mitch, I want to ask you guys a couple of rapid fire questions from Twitch chat.
All right.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you.
All right, so these ones are going to be kind of quick because I want to get some of these out the door. So let's keep them brief. Looking at you, Mitch. So I think the first one is kind of a good one, and that is when will the renting of buildings be online? They're curious about renting of buildings. Mitch,
it's already live. It's already live.
That's what I thought as well.
Answer.
Yeah, it's up.
You got to build a habitat. It takes a lot of effort. Or look for a piece of land that already has one on it that's already got a little house symbol on the map. But it's rolling out. So like it just takes a lot of effort to build, and you're going to see that a lot of things are craftable in the future now. Like that's our goal.
And then another rapid fire question here. This one is probably to you, Keri. Will the time come when no more lands can be bought and can only be rented?
No. We really believe in an upwardly mobile economy. We have rendered the entire planet Mars into over 600 million 40-acre plots. We are going to be able to accommodate multiple titles in multiple genres that you'll be able to fly between on one planet Mars.
It's a lot of room for activities on Mars. And then next rapid fire question. Is there any plans on upgrading land slots features in the future?
We're talking about it. We don't have a definitive answer. We want to evaluate ways for people to expand within their existing constraints of land where they are, because sometimes you just might have a stubborn neighbor you just can't buy out and you need more space. So we're exploring it, but we don't have a perfect so we're exploring the best ways to solve that, but we definitely are open to the idea. There's
can I add a leak on that? Can I leak?
We got a leak, hot leak here.
Yeah. I don't know. You might kill me later, but I'm in a good mood. So those of you who enjoy the story, who've read the lore, there's a technology in our book called Metis Shield. It's a key technology that's used throughout the novel. One of the ideas, and we are working through the details and the time frame, but the way it works in the novel is that it's a very lightweight material. You can build big domes. It makes it easier to use more of the surface on Mars. So Metis Shield might be really key to letting you use more of your available land space.
Well, you heard it here first. And then this is a bigger question, but I'm hoping that we can answer this really briefly because it's always top of mind in the Web3 space. And are you guys concerned about hype, pump and dump that has happened to so many other Web3 companies and teams? I think one of the reasons that I joined this group was because that is not something that we're planning on doing. So Keri, do you want to just give that a high level?
Yeah. No, we're not. We really don't see ourselves in competition with those projects because we're a very different kind of thing. There are other quality teams that are trying to build quality experiences. We're really focused on the one that we're building. But we're very conscious about, you can see from the stability of Dusk, we care a lot about the stability of Dusk, and we don't do artificial things to keep it where it is. We work on making the game engaging, and we don't let it moon either. We're here for the long term.
Awesome. This is another hot question that just came in. Keri mentioned earlier, we aim to build more games. Will they be related to Million on Mars? Completely different game. I know that we can't talk too much about future properties, but do you want to just give some hints?
Mitch is afraid. He knows he's. I think
I'm saying nothing.
Yeah. I think, you know what? I already gave you a big leak. I don't think we're going to say anything more on that. But
okay.
We got a lot that's in the
Fair
pipeline.
enough. I think we've covered a lot of ground in this conversation. One last silly question that I have for rapid fire: can we get a complete all button on finished works, Mitch?
Yeah.
I think that there's an answer behind that. I don't. Ask Lamp is my answer.
Okay.
Like I know that there's a reason behind why we either don't have it or it's already done and it's on deck. I don't remember, but there's a reason for this. It will eventually happen. I think it has largely to do with us needing to optimize something first, because when you do a complete all, it hits a ton of other users. It has like these ripple effects. But anyway, it should be solvable soon is my hopeful answer.
Great answer.
And maybe I'll get corrected by someone, but that's where I stand.
All right, cool. We'll tune in for more in the future. And then again, I want to thank you guys for coming and doing this. Keri, do you have any last words to sort of wrap this sucker up with, or?
No. I think Mitch has to tell us about the new event.
Oh yeah, so we're gonna do a new event, right? So this will kick off tomorrow afternoon, somewhere around 2:00 Central Time or noon my time, West Coast. And basically for the next week after that, we're going to be increasing the drop rates of Metis in advanced scavenging, making Metis available for regular scavenging, also including Metis in some various special places you may not normally see, or some limited time places as well, like maybe the resource shop, surveyor coin shop, stuff like that. So we know Metis is a little painful to get right now, and crafting all the tools needed to sort of progress through professions is also a little bit painful. So you will certainly see a lot more Metis than you have previously, at least for the next week.
Well, that is something for the Metis whales out there to be aware of, and I hope you guys made it to the end of our stream here today to get that piece of news. So don't say that we didn't tell you about it ahead of time. I also wanted to say that as head of marketing, we'll be messaging out a little bit more detail on that as well, so you can expect that across all the different owned channels that we have. And then ultimately, I just wanted to really thank everyone in the community for being so enthusiastic about the game and the work that we've been doing. We hear you guys. We're so excited to bring you guys even more really cool things in the future. There's a bunch of stuff that we're working on. And I also just want to thank Mitch and Keri for coming, and Steve and Ben for asking some questions, and all of you at home for asking questions in chat. I will work with the team to try to get some of the other really great but very specific game questions answered asynchronously later this week. So that's it. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Keri and Mitch.
Thank you, Dave. Happy third week.
Yay! All right. Let's play them out, Allie.